Jail has not been nice to me whatsoever. I was not built for this life.
Hey, look alive. I got you a new roommate.
I have a strong feeling that they are not going to like me.
Well, apparently they say they know you.
Hey, Jaden.
Also, you better stop talking to yourself about nerd shit. They're thinking of putting you in solitary confinement.
Well, that's Jaden for you.
Oh, and one more thing. They wanted me to give you this Avengers PS4 disc.
Anything but Avengers PS4. Avengers came out in 2022, mixed reviews, which was understandable. 2020 was not a good time to release games, but I'm not going to give Avengers any slack for that. This game was flawed from the start, but why don't we take it slow and start from the beginning?
Characters in this game aren't even half bad, but they aren't perfect. The Avengers are all fine characters, even if they are Walmart versions of the MCU. It's Miss Marvel I have a problem with. The main problem with Miss Marvel is that it doesn't feel like she has any depth to her character. But to explain that, we have to talk about the actual story. So pretty much, Miss Marvel goes to the Avengers Day, which is just a place for everyone to dick ride the Avengers at this event. They have this crystal which gets damaged after someone attacks the bridge. You get to play as all the Avengers before the ship blows up, supposedly killing Captain America. Because of this event, it created Inhumans, giving Miss Marvel her powers.
Sometime after this event, it seems that Miss Marvel is still very interested in the Avengers and wants them to get back together like a boy band, while the rest of the world hates superheroes.
So like that one Phineas and Ferb episode where they try to get the band back together.
Yes, Joel, like that one Phineas and Ferb episode. MODOK is the main villain, and he's fine, I guess, but the problem with MODOK is that he's kinda horned to bring him to the modern age. There's a reason why MODOK has been limited to animated stuff, and that's because he has a stupid design, and when they do redesign him, it looks just as stupid, if not more. A perfect example is his design in this game. They make his head super big but keep his body small, and I hope I'm not the only one that thinks he looks stupid. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but MODOK is not a cool villain. If anyone can name one cool thing MODOK did, I'll do a video on pre-MCU movies.
So, in conclusion, I think the story isn't bad, but forgettable. But what about the gameplay? It's shit. Okay, yes, I know that's harsh, but they tried to do what made the combat fun and stuff, like Spider-Man PS4 and God of War, and it just doesn't work, and it feels even worse in multiplayer, which we get to soon. But in the campaign, combat is off. I can't really pinpoint it. It just feels off. It doesn't feel impactful or as satisfying as I'm sure they were going for. It almost feels like a mobile game. The combat has just as much depth as the one in Genshin Impact. Just look at the UI. And speaking of UI, the health bars, or just health in general, enemies become super tanky just to pad out the leg of the game. And some doing is you button mashing enemies with thought, and it's boring. But it doesn't get too boring, because the level missions are there to spice it up, which does help, I will admit. You may have noticed that there are different characters which all play differently. So let's go down the list. Miss Marvel, the main character, can extend limbs and turn big, and that is all of her abilities. She isn't that fun to play as. Captain America has a pretty fun gimmick with the throwing the shield, but yet again, that's all he can do. And also, yes, he didn't actually die. Hulk can also do one thing, but he's the Hulk, so it doesn't matter. Black Widow is probably one of the best characters. Playing as the only character that carries around guns is awesome. Iron Man is also fun to play with. He has some of the coolest abilities, like being able to use the Hulk Buster. Only downside is that flying sucks. Thor plays very similar to Kratos from God of War, with throwing the hammer and so on. Besides that, he has some fun abilities. But the same problem as Iron Man, that being that the flying is not fun. There was also DLC characters added after launch, and you have Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, who play almost the same, and recently Mighty Thor.
If you're going to add new counters, don't add people who play like people who are already in the game. But besides those three, there are two characters that play differently: Black Panther and Spider-Man. And I never got to play as Black Panther, but Spider-Man? Just look at how they massacred my boy. Everyone knows how absolute perfection the Sungen is in Spider-Man PS4, but this is like the off-brand version. Your swinging has no weight to it. You can't build up any speed with it, and most of the time, you're not even attached to anything. And worst of all, Sony wasn't even nice enough to give this version of Spider-Man to Xbox. And while we're on the topic, we should talk about the multiplayer.
Anyways, multiplayer is not fun. Yeah, I know. I bet you couldn't guess that one. There's a lot of problems with it, like, I don't know, it's only hella boring. Problem number one, it's repetitive. Every single level feels and looks exactly the same. You get tired of having to face the same enemies over and over again. Problem number two, it's really buggy. I didn't experience any bugs during the campaign, but there sure was a lot of bugs in multiplayer. Like player models freaking out and spawning millions of miles above the map and falling. And more, it was weird.
Problem number three. It's boring. Multiplayer is just so mindless. There's nothing to it. And it isn't the good mindless fun like playing Xenoverse 2. It's just boring. I feel like my brain is rotting while playing it, man. Don't you agree, Joel?
Dang, the guard is looking. I was able to break through the window with this disc.
Hell yeah. So was that your plan all along?
No, I was gonna kill you in your sleep.
What?
Forget about it. You would have hit up the McDonald's.
Sure.
What the fuck?